Minister, Minister, I'd like to thank you for coming in and listening to this debate. Now, basically, under Connecting Ireland, there were 2 bus services set up in Connemara. One goes from Anshatarua up through Screeb to Mamcross, Cornamona, Clonbur, Ballinrobe and Clonmaris. And the other one goes from Anshatarua to Screeb, but it then turns west, goes through Carna and Cashel, Roundstone, Ballyconneely and Clifton. And these services have been welcomed, and each segment services its own community. So I'm not saying that there's that huge number going from Anshatarua, for example, to Clonmaris, but there are a lot from the northern leg going to Clonmaris or Ballinrobe, and similarly in the southern leg they're going to Mamcross to connect with other buses. But Minister, there's a major snag with the 2 services, and that is that somebody in their wisdom on these rural roads decided, unlike the bus airing services that have been traditionally there, where they pick you up wherever you are along the route, somebody decided that there would be fixed bus stops along the route, and only there could you either get into the bus or alight from the bus. And some of these are, believe it or not, 8k, 14k apart. So you need a car to get to the bus. And it's quite a farcical situation. So, as a lot of people said to me, if I take the car that far, I might as well go the whole way. And anyway, where am I meant to leave the car? And the problem now is that the type of numbers that we would have expected to use the bus, that are potentially there to use the bus, are not using the bus. Now, for months and months, I've been pursuing this issue, and there was a promise that the number of bus stops would be reviewed, and that would be a help. But it wouldn't be equal to the service as we've had a tradition in rural Ireland, that if you're along the route, it'll pick you up wherever you are. And I was in the town the other day, and on Patrick's Day to be exact, and I was in a little housing estate, and along a stretch of road that was somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 mile, there were 2 bus stops. And then people think the rural people can go up 8 kilometres to a bus stop. It kind of does your head in, because what's reasonable in one place is reasonable in another. There's another issue that has arisen. For example, Rossmuck used to have a main bus service. The bus going from Carna to Galway in the morning used to go into Rossmuck, into the peninsula, pick up passengers, come back out to Gartmore and go into Galway. And the same thing in the evening. Now it doesn't go in there, and I can understand the reason for that, because the people who are on the bus from Carna obviously don't want a big diversion. And on the other hand, for the people who are Smuck, this has been a matter of contention since the service stopped. The number using buses is increasing all the time. And it seems to me that there should be a feeder bus into Rossmuck that would meet the main buses. It could be a minibus or whatever, and that it would be well patronised. Now, one thing we do know is if you have good bus services, people will use them. If you have excellent bus services, they'll even use them more. So we did get an improvement in the radial buses into Galway. They used to be badly patronised. Now there's only one complaint every day. You can't get on the buses because they're all full. Even the 11 o'clock bus out of Galway, and I mean 11 p.m. at night, bus is full. So, Minister, we need a service that services the people. It's a kind of Irish joke that you'd have a bus service that is happier with no passengers than with passengers, and still is running at the cost of the state.
Mr. Collins, are you going to sort out this problem for us in Connemara?
Thanks, Chair, and I'd like to thank Deputy Ó Cuív for raising the important topic, which I'm taking on behalf of Minister Ryan. And at the outset, I would like to clarify that the Minister for Transport has responsibility for policy and overall funding in relation to public transport, but neither the Minister nor his officials are involved in the day-to-day management, operation or planning of public transport services. The statutory responsibility for securing the provision of public passenger transport services nationally rests with the National Transport Authority, the NTA. The NTA works with the public transport operators who deliver the services and who have responsibility for day-to-day operational matters. That said, I would like to reassure the Deputy that the Government is strongly committed to providing all citizens with reliable, realistic, sustainable mobility options, and public transport plays a key role in the delivery of this goal. To support this objective, under Budget 2024, a funding package of about 613 million has been secured for the public service obligation and local link services. This package includes funding for the continuation of the 20% fare reduction on PSO services, the extension of the young adult card on both PSO and commercial bus services to include 24 and 25-year-olds, and the continuation of the 90-minute fare limit until the end of 2024. Funding has also been secured to support the continued rollout of new and enhanced bus and rail services this year. Turning to rural and regional areas, as I'm sure the Deputy is aware, the Connecting Ireland Rural Mobility Plan has been a hugely successful programme since its implementation began in 2022, with, for example, passenger numbers on the Transport for Ireland local link regular bus services increasing by 78% year on year to 3.2 million in 2023. Under Connecting Ireland, over 100 new or additional services have been introduced since commencement in mid-2022. Under Phase 1 in 2022, 38 new and enhanced services were implemented, while in Phase 2 in 2023, 65 new and enhanced services were implemented. This means that over 190 towns and villages have been connected to the public transport network, and over 280,000 people have access to new and enhanced bus services. In relation to the specific services referred to by Deputy Ó Cuív, the NTA has advised that Galway Local Link is currently trialling additional stops on the Local Link 432 alignment. The NTA has agreed with Galway Local Link to operate smaller buses on this route to allow for a more flexible operation of the services. The NTA will discuss additional stops on the 431 bus service with Galway Local Link. The NTA has also advised that it has no current plans to provide for regular services to operate to and from the Rossmuck Peninsula. In designing the 431 service, the NTA confirmed that it has considered options for extending this route to Knock Airport. According to the NTA, extending the service to Knock Airport would have diminished the service frequency along the corridor, and as the additional journey time would have to be compensated with a loss of service elsewhere. This would have diminished the attractiveness of the service for most residents. The NTA does not have a current plan to extend the service to Knock Airport. However, the NTA confirmed that it will keep this under review in the future as the service develops. There are a number of bus services that operate regularly between Claremorris and Knock Airport, including the Bus Éireann 440, 64 and 964. It is possible to interchange between Local Link 431 service and these services in Claremorris. The NTA's journey planner can be used to see other public transport options. In conclusion, I want to reassure the Deputy that the Department of Transport and the NTA and the operators are working to ensure the optimised deployment of resources across the public transport network to matching changing passenger demand patterns.
Deputy Ó Cuív.
Thank you for anticipating the second part of my question regarding Knock Airport. The proposal is quite simple. And let's start on a phased basis, say for the months of June, July and August, that the bus would run down as far as Knock Airport. Now, telling me there's connecting buses is like telling me I can get a flight to a holiday destination, and if I get a cheaper flight, if I fly to London and then on to somewhere else and keep changing flights until I get there, rather than taking direct flights. So people want direct services, particularly if they're going on holidays and they've got baggage. I cannot understand why they can't roster it in such a way. And if it takes more buses and more frequencies, so be it. We're entitled to services. And I believe an awful lot of people would leave their cars at home and take the bus to the airport, and 800,000 people are using Knock Airport every year. And that would reduce the carbon footprint along that route quite considerably. But to go to the 432, could the Minister of State ask the Minister for Transport to ask the NTA, to ask Local Link, to send me details of the additional stops, because I've been trying to get this information for a considerable time, and how far apart these are going to be compared to, for example, urban bus stops. Can they also give me details as what they mean by saying that they're going to operate smaller buses on this route to allow for more flexible operation of services? Will they explain how this is going to give us more flexible services, what they mean by more flexible services, and what the changes are? And would you note my disappointment in relation to the fact that Rossmuck don't now have a service that they had 20 years ago? That's all we're looking for to be restored. And finally, with the great indulgence of the Count Corla, can I say to you, this policy issue of the Department of Transport, every question you ask, rail, everything, that's Operation Matters are for the various agencies involved. Will you just get the Minister to answer one question? Surely it would be a policy issue, if he made it a policy, that when the NTA are deciding these services, that they would provide places and let them specify the distance, the maximum distance you think the bus stop should be apart. In any part of the country, you can make any policy you want when you're minister. That's what being minister is about, and I don't accept this perennial answer that the minister has no policy on anything and that these agencies are running wild and they're not providing a service. Thank you, Count Corla, and thank you for your indulgence.
Responses that contain more relevant information rather than short, thinner, and one-quarter relevant information.
Thanks. Thanks, Chair. That's no problem. I'll certainly convey to the Minister your request for the details of the smaller buses, as you've asked, and also in relation to the additional stops. And I'll absolutely convey him your disappointment in relation to Rossmuck. And I'll also make him aware of your desire that he develop a policy in relation to the distances between bus stops, Deputy, as you've alluded to. Other than that, I really don't have anything else to offer by way of supplementary and closing, because you probably wouldn't be impressed if I read out what I have here before me. but
save the hot air in here.
I can tell you, bus stops are a motive. My own father lobbied me for a bus stop near our house for many years, about 15 years, and one arrived there last year, and I had nothing to do with it landing there. So anyway, yeah, I convey all of that. Thanks.